Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. It is Monday, May 19th, 2025. Welcome to today's edition of Trading Trends. Got back from New Orleans Friday night. Very good time. Really interesting, great ideas out of the Portfolio Accelerator conference I was at. I did present. Unfortunately, I couldn't broadcast and do the Trading Trends live from there, but it was a great session. And yeah, let's get into today's version. Today's going to be kind of a scattered week, just a busy week here, and I will not have a Friday wrap-up show. We'll probably try and do something like a Wednesday or something instead, but Friday will not be around. I will be on the floor, actually, with one of my favorite bands of all time, Metallica, where my Eagles campaign for a Super Bowl all season. So I will not be here Friday. Maybe I'll do something on, I don't know, next week, although it is Memorial Day on Monday. Anyway. Let us get into the charts. Very interesting moves today. Let me take a screenshot here. So very interesting. It's all the rage yet again. I know a lot of people were hoping for doom and gloom with the Moody's downgrade on Friday night. Futures dipped about 1%. Crypto barely shook. I think you saw Bitcoin go from like 106 to 103, something thereabouts. We'll take a look at a bunch of charts today. But Europe is the story today. Germany, new all-time highs. European financials. We'll take a look at that, new all-time highs, and that is actually it's on the top 3 of best trades, best returns from last May to today. It's bumped out China. So very interesting things happening. We'll do that at the end of the show. If you have a ticker or something, put it in. A lot has happened. Some has much to my chagrin in terms of where the S&P is. We'll take a look, of course, at the intraday and then zoom out. But today, Europe rallying to new highs while energy fell. I was asked at my presentation on Thursday what my least favorite trade is, what I wouldn't go long, and it was energy. I said I wouldn't really touch it. There's just much, much better trades out there. And my favorite was still Bitcoin. And then I followed it up with you got to own gold and China. And Europe now is becoming a very, very, not really a brand new story, but it is. There's meat on that bone still, in my opinion. All right, so let's take a look first. We'll take a look at the entries of today. Some interesting things happened as usual in the markets. So we'll look at first the single stock movers. Tesla down 2%. I do want to say a lot of the stocks now have turned, obviously, with the S&P at 594. Now we're, eyeing less than 5% away or so from new all-time highs. There was factually very few good-looking U.S. stocks. It was Netflix, Palantir. I'm trying to think. There was one other one, MicroStrategy, but that's really just a Bitcoin proxy. There was very, very few. Now, Tesla's not looking bad, down 2% today. NVIDIA at 135 is looking better. A lot of the way I do this is if it's holding 20-day, 50-day, 200-day moving averages, as well as the past 1 year, 50% Fibonacci. It's got to be at least above the top half. And a lot of these stocks are doing this now with the massive rally that we've had from the April 7th lows in SPY. UNH, that has been still an awful looking stock, dead cat bounce, if you will, but it's been ramping here, up 8%. Last week, I remember being in New Orleans every day. It seemed like you woke up to a new headline, Medicare fraud, this and that and the other thing. And UNH just got clobbered, I think, all the way down to 260. And a few guys in the rooms were buying call spreads, just saying it's going to go the other way. And now they're sitting happy. So that is the way it works sometimes. The things that have run a ton, we're not enjoying gains today. Palantir, so one of the absolute best. Oh, jinx, Tony. The same second I say Palantir, you type in PLTR. We'll take a look. Still one of the best stocks in the market. I don't know what your time frame is, Tony, but Palantir looks absolutely incredible. I will also touch on nat gas today. Today's the ETF version of the show. When I step back and, I'm out for a little bit and such, I like to do ETFs, of course, because it really holistically contextualizes the entire narrative outside of the markets for me. Apple down 1%. That stock still does not look great. Microsoft is looking better, one of the leaders now in the whole, old Mega 7 complex. Meta was flat, still looks good. Amazon up 30 bips, doesn't look stellar. IWM still one of the weakest indices, down 40 bips today. Google small, up 20, looking still not so great. DLT, this is important. New 52-week low today in TLT, looks like trash. Bonds go lower, yields go higher. Higher interest rates could put a lid on the markets for a while, but TLT looks absolutely trash. That is a new 52-week low today. MicroStrategy at 3% looks absolutely great. Gold up, adding 1% today, looks absolutely great. Netflix flat looks absolutely great. So if we go in the intraday chart here, it's pretty interesting. Like I said, a lot of people not hoping, but anticipating doom and gloom. They bought it all day. Okay, so the opening bar is at 9:30 right here where my cursor is. We're at 588. After 30 minutes, the cheapest pricing on the day was 591. We took that higher. We peaked at 1 o'clock, slightly after the European close. We touched 599, 595 half, and then held VWAP the entire day. So strong trading here. Small sell-off at 3:30 p.m., but we held VWAP very well. As I zoom out, we go to the 1 year here. So SPY, as I said, still having an extended bullish continuation phase. And just to make things simple, big guy on the 1 year 50% Fibonacci retracements, as well as the 200-day moving average. The 200 days right here for you will round up at 575. Super important line in the sand. That's when all this haziness started. March 7th, as we got into the lows on April 7th. And then we started to really rise above it right after May 7th. So kind of lucky number 11 here for what it's worth. It was actually 2 days after that. But now we're holding it well. And a decent looking candle. We actually did close up 10 bips today. We are not quite overbought. It would be a welcome condition. We haven't been overbought technically since December the 4th. But this looks great. So what I'm anticipating is still trees don't grow to the sky, although this market has been absolutely strong. And of course, if you're one of the mantras and one of the themes I heard all last week was if Europe is hitting all-time highs, how bad could it be here? And I agree, there is a spot where we can all be fat and giddy, is what I was saying. But over some time, maybe the next 2 to 3 weeks, I still see, I'll just call it consolidation, or at least maybe working off this near overboughtness. But again, just to state the facts, we have been above 50 RSI since April 24th. That is very, very stellar. That is, I know we weren't above the 200-day moving average then. Today is actually only our 5th close above the 200-day moving average. If you remember what I said before, what is important for me is about a week to 2 weeks below, if closes below a 200-day moving average, or 5 days or so above a 200-day really starts to accelerate. And again, here you have the 200-day now starting to climb up again, up about 20 cents a day. So win to your back right now, as I said, that 1 year 50% Fibonacci number is right around 550. We've cleared that, so you have an upward bias. The next level is 575. You cleared that, and of course, we're trying to eye 613 for the new all-time highs that we struck back on February 19th. So the big picture, as I zoom out here over the next 2-ish weeks or so, although the flows look absolutely great, I could see a sell-off over the next 2 weeks or so. It depends how scary things get. I still have inclination that we do give up the ghost just a little bit under this 200-day moving average. I'm not entirely convinced that is it, and then we're off, to the races. I just think it would make sense, not new 52-week lows or anything like that, but simply a pullback to just about this. It's your middle Bollinger Band, and your 50-day moving average. I think it's a totally normal place to rest. Might put some portfolio managers and algos on edge. If we start trading below the 200-day moving average again, it would be that kind of sell the rip environment, potentially like we were before May 9th. But that's something I'm looking forward to. Very, very interested to see where, in 2-3-ish weeks' time, are we versus 575. That's a very, very, very key figure. All right. An upper Bollinger Band here, even with vol expansion, takes you to 602. So we're still looking at 6,000 in the S&P. I still fully expect, new all-time highs this year in SPY, as well as Bitcoin, but that's not new. So looking back, of course, hindsight's 2020. SPY was in an ugly period, an ugly sub 50 RSI period from February 21st to April 23rd. It just took 2 months. It was almost like, it's almost like playing blackjack over and over, and you say, you know what? Maybe I should get off the table right now. Things got a little bit too good. And it's interesting to say that happened when the players counted their chips right the week of the all-time high. So I think it's pretty interesting to note. We'll see how long they stay at the table now. All right, let's get into today and what are some of these big, big, big movers. This is where the money is going. And I feel like I've been talking about this for sure every Friday on the recap show. And now they bought it. This was a multiple sigma mover here today. This is up 1.6% today. EUFN does not move, massively in terms of, ATR, average true range. This thing, new all-time high, hit 31.75, which is where it closed. overbought. They've been lining to buy this thing up since about the 14th for about 5 days or so, legitimately overbought. But we started experiencing these conditions first in mid to late January, all the way through mid to late March. So it was almost that party when the players cashed out the chips of the S&P and U.S. concentrated Mag 7 type markets. They said, you know what? Let's see what else is on the table. And they said, let's go to European financials. Different reasons, dollar weakness, what's happening with bonds here as well. And this has just been one of absolutely the places to be. EUFN, in terms of entries and such, a great period or a great place to get in would be right around $30 even. Confluence of moving averages there. Your 50-day. That would be a very solid level to me to get in. And if the S&P rips 1 or 2 days in a row, you'll see them hammer this thing out a little bit, and hopefully you get in right around that 30 half-ish level. But right here for me, it is fully targeted right here about 31 to 31 half, let alone it's trading 31.75. So a great long-term investment, and this was really just a flash in the pan. Pretty incredible here. They really sold first, asked questions later. When the U.S., the leader, right, like Steph Curry, is getting 0 points for many games in a row, and say, oh my God, let me go to the opposite, perhaps, of Steph Curry. But meanwhile, let me sell everything even like a Steph, if that example makes sense. And they immediately sold this thing off. This thing was overbought, just for last reference, March 18th. This thing was trading $29.55, and then they sold it to $24.60 just a month. No, 3 weeks later. So that's a powerful move, but it looks even more convincing now. Overbought conditions again for the European financials. And again, this is Santander, this is Deutsche Bank, Barclays. It actually really is a good basket, and it's got like nice div payers on here. I believe the yield on this is about 4%. So this is, almost, I don't want to say defensive. Maybe it is a little bit defensive, but it has great flows. And I like a great entry at about $30 for this. To me right here, like I said, fully valued. Woo! All right, next, Germany, a multiple sigma mover. New all-time highs today. Germany up 1.7%. That is a big move, which is why we're talking about them. Hence why I highlight multiple sigma movers. It lets me immediately skate to where the puck is right now. It's just something worth analyzing. It's, normal standard deviation, 100 people walk in the room. You expect, 2/3 to be within, pretty normal height. But an 8-foot person walks into the room, I want to talk to them. Or a 3-foot person wants to come into the room, I want to analyze that. Those are outliers that could be actionable trade ideas. Here is Germany, just an absolutely stupendous chart. Similar, just zest in buying starting in late January here. Once you got above that breakout here, above 34 in Germany, it was off to the races, and here we are at 41.5. A lot of the charts here, obviously, very correlated. Germany, I like in terms of, we haven't talked about this in a while, but in terms of the duration of it. So I like the next 2 weeks or so for a bull run of Germany continuing as all-time highs are today, but I just see a little bit zig and zagging. This has gone a little bit too high above its moving averages, specifically the 50-day. It doesn't typically shoot up above the 50-day and stay there for a long time. So something just tells me that this is going to at least hover towards 40 possibly in this week, and that will be your entry. And then you want to do something like 40, 42 call spreads, potentially 1x2s, or you can sell those 40 puts when it reaches there if you're a true believer in the Germany story and you want a net credit strategy instead of net debit. But this is overbought here. Over 70 is always great to see. It's not the highest RSI of everything in EWG. That's why I would like to see with a new all-time high. I'd like to see it 77.5, which is what the prior levels were. Here got to just barely 70. So something tells me you still could very likely have a entry down to about 40.5 this week. But a great looking candle today in Germania. And the next multiple sigma mover, not in Europe, but still a geographical ETF that was on the move today and actually all week. We'll take a look at this one again later. Germany up 1.8%. This is a character change here. So Germany, amazing, stupendous chart for the entire year pretty much. European financial, same. Mexico here is really, again, this had to happen after Liberation Day, and in terms of who our new, cheaper trading partners are going to be, et cetera, and who's at risk or who's going to be an ally and who's going to be our enemy, so to speak, economically speaking. April 16th, 17th is when this first started to close above its 200-day moving average, and this hasn't happened since before the election, before they elected that leftist liberal out there in Mexico, and it sunk the stock all the way to the lows, which were New Year's Eve, and it's been trying to etch a better page here for 2025, and it's really started in mid-April. So here we are now. So now what in Mexico? It's been an absolute stellar mover this past week, which is why we're going to look at it again later for a little bit. Yeah, this one just fully valued to me right here at 61. Truly, I have 60, 65 for my mark. Similar in terms of duration. So kind of, helps if I move the box there. So similar to Germany, I am fully targeted right here, fully valued at this target of 60, 60 or so. So I see a little bit of a zigzagging. A great entry would be around 57, 85, right around there. And then to get you back to where we are currently at 60, 60. But a good looking chart. The next level of resistance here is trying to get to that 61.75 mark, which is very close. And after that, it's looking at the old 52-week highs in Mexico. So this place, again, one of the other reasons why I'm not just in a massive rush to buy the S&P, or the things that are crushing it are really just not denominated, to be friendly skies in terms of the U.S. They're not rushing out to buy Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA. They look okay, but the hot stuff is still, like I said, these international players, Germany, mostly Europe, France, Switzerland, Mexico. So it's interesting things that are going on. Hopefully the rest of the world's catching up, and that helps us thrust into, probably later this summer, if that, new all-time highs for SPY, and we're all fat and giddy, ideally. All right, the losers, and I think this is what you were potentially maybe carrying as well, Tony. Let me know if you still have a position. Nat gas, absolutely hammered today, down 6%. It's had a horrendous week. Look at this. It's got its first close under the 200-day moving average for the first time since April 21st, pretty much exactly a month ago. What do we say now? Well, we had, I don't like the chart right here. I think this continues to go lower. I think this is in distribution for about another 1 week or so. I think this actually goes towards about 15 even, right around here. Maybe a little bit of vol expansion gets you towards the high 14 handle. So like a 1490 print or something thereabouts. But this 200-day moving average now is starting to really be contentious. This is something that the UNG's had trouble with since April 20th. So don't like this right here. And on the next rally, again, this is volatile. I could see it recovering and going back as high as 17.5. But for right now, for the next 1 to 2 weeks or so, I think this heads lower towards about 15.15. What a plunge here. And we're going to look at it later, the move just from May 9th. From 19 to 15.60, a massive move. Today, a big loser. Energy was really a very weak area. And we'll look at different complexes of that aspect. So solar today, and that was a big theme last week too, or at the conference. A lot of folks like solar. There's a lot of pouring into underperformers to be the new performers, kind of like what we saw, that new comeuppance, if you will, in Mexico, trying to get a character change. Look what happened in solar. An easy chart, or to me, an easier chart once it gets near that 200-day, a falling 200-day, you sell it. Boom, happened in September. Boom, happened in November. Here it couldn't even get that high. And look what happened here. It tried in May, all last week, got actually overbought. And that's what was making my spidey senses tingle a little bit, saying, this could be something different. It hasn't been, as you can see by my cursor here, it has not been overbought all year. And you had the highest volume, or second highest volume of the entire year. Could be a sentiment change, right? We'll see. For right now, the 200-day is still slicing lower at 35.5, and an ugly day down 2.5%. It looks like it's down another percent after hours. So solar in the big picture, I do not love. I don't love the individual companies as well, like SolarEdge. I think there's some decent spots. I have to look recently about like First Solar versus Enphase, etc. But it looks, like I said, that has been a hell of a rally from 26 April 9th with the U.S. stock market lows all the way to 35. So congrats if you called those death cam bounces and those types of assets. It could turn around. I just wouldn't say it's my favorite area. I think this one comes off over the next 2 weeks. I could be wrong, of course, but I think this one comes off and goes towards $32, which would be a $2 reduction, or about 5-ish%. So TAN got kicked in today, and then we'll look lastly at the broader energy complex. Down 1.3% is not a small move for energy. It's pretty meaningful. Again, broader here, it is not. I mean, it's trying to get near its 200-day moving average. It's $4 away. Now it's starting to weaken again, down 1.3% on the day. A multiple standard deviation move for energy. Yeah, to me, not a huge fan. I wouldn't say the bottom absolutely gives way, but I think this could easily go to $80. I'm not calling for new lows here at 75, but I do see it going towards about $80 over the next 2-ish weeks. Alrighty, top 3 gainers of the past 5 days, no repeating charts. Number 1, Ark Innovation of 5% on an average of 1% a day. Today giving back 2%, a bit of a character change of its own. Finally closing above its rising 200-day moving average. I'd always prefer a chart like that with a rising 200-day and trying to have a character change, reclaim its legacy as opposed to a total turnaround story. It's just a little bit tougher, especially when you're constructing a portfolio through different delta and options, specifically through call spreads if you're trying to get upside. So here, the rising 200 moving average, although it's very slowly rising, is right at 52 even. You can see we're 10% above that, 57.5. Again, a lot of these markets right now, a lot of the charts, US, Europe, or otherwise, look to me fully valued. I see a pullback to this going back to about $52, $53. So I still see this 200 moving average intact, and this is obviously a proxy for your Teslas, PayPals, and stuff like that in your Cathie Wood complex. Next, we already talked about this, so I'm not going to totally drum it up again, but Mexico right after Ark. Mexico's up 5% in the past 5 days, or an average of 1% a day. Today it did more than that. So this has been really a nice player. I already talked about where I see it going and where entries are. The next one, semiconductors, finally something US affiliated. So this one's up a paltry 3%. Today giving back very small, 15%, trying to establish, closes above the 200-day of its own here for the first time. It's done it May 12th. So now it's trying to do it for a week straight. Love semis, of course, in terms of the importance, the quarterback, in my opinion, of the market. This has had a decent run here from, this April 25th. I'm looking at that through RSI, above 50. We are overbought here. We have not been overbought. July 10th literally was the eve of the all-time high of semis. So again, that can give you warm fuzzies and think the good days are here again, or exactly what you saw on tan. It meerkats above a 200-day moving average and then slides lower. We'll see. But in terms of SMH, I like this to pull back most likely to about 225, which would be under the 200-day moving average. This is pretty much flat right here at 237 even. I think it gives that up. We'll see. This is going to be very important to what resonates for the S&P over the next 2 weeks. So we'll see. Top 3 losers of the past 5 days. Natural gas down 15% in the past 5 days, or an average of 3%. Today it did 6%. Just an ugly chart. If you have a position on this short, congratulations, because this thing's dropped 15% in 5 days. So absolutely, any put spreads would have absolutely crushed it. Your biggest loser in the past week. We were talking about biotechs, this specific basket, not the XBI, not IBB, but ARKG is down 2.5%. So not a ton, but it is the second worst area to be in after natural gas, although it's like a 5x difference. But this one I think is going to base, honestly, right here around its 21-day exponential moving average, right around 21.5. And I think this could actually be similar, differently from a lot of the charts we've just seen. Fully valued, very near fully valued, wait for pullbacks. This looks like, again, you're going counter trend, so be careful of these types of trades. But I think this could be a candidate for a call spread, and I see a potential. It's going to have a little bit of skid marks, having a hard time dealing with 22 quarter right around here. But I do think it gets past that and gets as high as about 20, right around here, right around 23. So kind of tight, but I do think this has a decent, at least upswing momentum over the next 2 weeks as folks try and get into assets that are not overweight in, and biotechs would be part of it. And this RG looks very weak. And then XLV, of course, crossfire for the entire UNH collapse last week. XLV, a pretty brutal place to be. It's interesting. I presented on this on Thursday, and I commented on the 52-week low here and not even getting oversold. And I said this should bounce, and I fully expect it to bounce to 135 very soon, and then not seeing a ton after that. That's pretty much what happened. We're at 134 here. The high was 134.44, closing your high of day. And yeah, I see a bullish accumulation over the next 2 weeks. And this probably gets to about, if it gets absolutely, folks are really scooping up, United Healthcare and Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, and things like that, we can get to 138, which is the 50-day moving average, but I don't see us really grabbing towards the 200-day or anything like that. So another $4 or so, but I do see it having a bullish move over the next 2 weeks. So healthcare and biotechs, I don't say that too often for the next 2 weeks. We'll see. But healthcare, a nasty spot to have been in the last couple of days. Today and the past 2 days helping, but it was on a straight plunge lower here, as you can see, as it touched 127. Okay. Top 3 trades of the past 5 days. So if you had these trades for today and the past 4 days, you're absolutely crushing the week. Short nat gas, long ARK, and long Mexico. So think about that and those correlations or lack thereof. Short natural gas, long ARK, long Mexico. 3 best trades of the week. Now for some more importance, not to be so myopic on just a week, let's go for the whole year. Number 1, drum roll. IBIT, number 1, up 57%, and this thing is clamoring for new all-time highs, which is at 61.75. You can see we're 175 away, which is absolutely nothing for IBIT. Looks good. I think this one is close to fully targeted at this time. I have 59 for right now for this run here, but this looks absolutely great. Similarly, as I said, for S&P and obviously Bitcoin itself, see all-time highs coming for Bitcoin. Chart looks absolutely great, and hopefully we get more overbought conditions. Would love to see that kind of euphoria, animal spirits like we had end of November, kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy as we got towards those all-time highs the day of the Fed cut in December. So I bet your number 1 ETF performer year over year, almost 2x the next one. What is the next one you speak of? G to the L to the D, gold, up 33%. So gold peaked April 22nd at $318, and then it sold off, I would say, decently aggressively to $290, and now we are at $298. I still do believe, yes, you must own gold in your portfolio. I think this is setting up right here. I disagree and I don't believe that flows are going to fall apart right here for gold. It could happen, but this looks great. I actually love purchases under 300, and to me, this looks like it's headed towards 315 in about 2-3-ish weeks. So call spreads, fine candidate for that. You can check the pricing, but 300s, sell the 315s. You could also do a rental where you buy July. I've just checked the listings, but you could sell June and buy July, and you can kind of test drive that for free. So a couple different things that you can do, or you can sell these 290 puts, see what it pays, and roll them, do them weekly, or you can sell the 15 Delta puts and do that. But a lot of opportunity, I believe. And then the last one, this is a new entry. We've now covered this before in terms of the best year-over-year trades. European Financials is now your 3rd best ETF trade of the entire past year, from last May 19th through today. So as I wrap this up, or I'll get to your Palantir tone. Again, the best performing assets from last May to this May, and of course S&P's been kicking butt for 15 years, kind of nonstop, right? The number 1 leaders are Bitcoin, gold, and European Financials. That doesn't make me want to rush out and buy, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, Alphabet. That's just, it doesn't give me warm fuzzies. The thing that does give me warm fuzzies is the world is catching up, hopefully, and then we can all have cylinders firing, and then we're all at all-time highs together, kind of like you see with the ACWI index and so on. Okay, lastly, how does Palantir look? User question. Let's take a look. So Palantir, I was talking about this with a wealth manager as well, how I thought it would stall at 120 going into earnings. And it's pretty much, Palantir is a young stallion. It actually did. It stopped at 125, so just a touch higher, and then took a week of a break. And then now we started splurging even higher and got to 133.5. How does it look here? I like it here, but here's the problem. It's kind of fully valued right here for me. 132 right here is my upside for this. possibly 134. So right here, it's kind of equidistant. I love entries right around 115. If you're able to get it, 117, right around there. I think you do get about right around those levels, 117. So in terms of what I'm seeing, a little bit of a zigzag. I think this one goes kind of like this. It touches, taps the 117, and then goes higher. You're long right now. So just stock, I'm guessing for a couple of weeks, couple months hold or something. Yeah, it's one of the absolute best stocks in the market. I think if you look year-over-year returns, I was presenting on this at the conference as well. I believe it's number 5 or top 5 best stocks by return in the past year. And obviously with the market cap, it means much more. Some of the other additions on that chart return is, very small nano nuclear mines and stuff like that. This is a massive, massive, corporation at this point, $305 billion company off of just $3 billion revenue. So a hefty PE, about a 210 PE I'm seeing. But all that doesn't matter for this. The closest it got touching its 200-day was Yen Mageddon, August 5th of last year. The only thing I will comment on is earnings trend. They absolutely crushed it, and then they sold the stock off. I was talking about the setup going into it, coming off the U.S. SPY market lows. So you rally from 65 all the way to 130. Typically, a stock doesn't just double, especially one with $300 billion market cap. And then it gave back some, and here we are again, all-time high. So I think you own one of the best, literally one of a handful, best stocks in the entire U.S. stock market, and quite possibly globally, although it's getting more crowded in terms of a lot of the European trades. So I like this one. I love entries about 117, 118. And like I said, fully targeted is right around 133, which is why this is pretty much just in the middle for me at 126. I don't know what your cost basis is. All right. That was a lot. I'm glad to be back. I will see when I can do my other video. Hopefully, I'll do one on Wednesday for y'all is my intent. Peace, and we'll talk to you later.